Shark attacks are brutal, fast, and often misunderstood, sparked by curiosity, confusion, or instinct. Whether in shallow waters near a seal colony or deep dives near shipping lanes, the ocean holds dangers few are prepared for. And it's not just sharks. Other apex predators are growing bolder too. From a great white wiping out a family in South Africa to an orca ambushing a U.S. Coast Guard boat, this video explores 6 terrifying real-life attacks by sharks and ocean predators that shocked survivors, experts, and entire coastal communities. Cape Town, South Africa, 2017. The remote stretch of Kogel Bay Beach along South Africa's eastern Cape had long been known for its breathtaking beauty and dangerous waters. Situated near Seal Island, a notorious breeding ground for Cape fur seals, the area had a dark history of shark encounters dating back to the early 1900s. Local authorities had installed warning signs in multiple languages and employed seasonal shark spotters. Still, the pristine waters and magnificent coastline continued to lure tourists seeking the perfect African beach experience. For the Petrovich family from St. Petersburg, Russia, their dream South African vacation turned into an unimaginable nightmare on the morning of March 15, 2017. Borislav Petrovich, 43, a successful investment banker, his wife Anastasia, 39, a marine biology professor, and their 2 children, Mikhail, 12, and Svetlana, 9, had been staying at a luxury resort overlooking the bay for 3 days. The family had specifically chosen this location for its natural beauty, and because Anastasia had long wanted to observe the area's marine ecosystem firsthand. According to Hendrik van der Merwe, 67, a local fisherman who witnessed the tragedy, the water had been unusually murky that day due to recent storms, and most locals had avoided entering beyond the shallows. Van der Merwe noted that he had spotted unusual seal activity closer to shore that morning, a potential warning sign that sharks might be hunting nearby. Despite the conditions, the Petrovich family ventured into the water around 9:30 a.m., walking approximately 50 meters from shore where the water reached just above waist deep for the adults. They were the only swimmers in that section of the beach. According to Van der Merwe, who was preparing his small fishing boat about 200 meters away, the family enjoyed themselves, splashing and taking photographs in the shallow surf. What happened next occurred with terrifying speed. A 4.8-meter great white shark, later identified by marine biologists as a mature female known to frequent the area, approached from deeper waters. The shark, likely drawn by the family's splashing that mimicked distressed prey, targeted Borislav first. Van der Merwe recalled hearing sudden screams and seeing a massive disturbance in the water. The shark had struck Borislav from behind, inflicting catastrophic bite wounds across his lower back and legs. The force of the attack sent him face down into the water, where he remained motionless. Reacting with maternal instinct, Anastasia immediately pushed her children toward shore while attempting to reach her husband. The chaos of thrashing bodies and spreading blood appeared to trigger a feeding response in the shark. It circled back with frightening precision, this time targeting Anastasia. According to Van der Merwe, who had abandoned his equipment and was running toward the water's edge, the shark bit Anastasia across her torso with such force that she was briefly lifted from the water before disappearing beneath the surface. The children, panicking and just meters from their parents, became the next targets. The shark, continuing its aggressive behavior, attacked Mikhail first, then Svetlana, leaving fatal wounds to both children. Van der Merwe described the water turning dark red as he and 3 other beachgoers who had heard the commotion rushed into the shallows. Jaleel Abrahams, 29, a nearby tour guide who joined the rescue attempt, later told authorities that only Mikhail showed signs of life when they reached the scene. Despite their desperate efforts to stem the bleeding from massive wounds to his legs and abdomen, the boy succumbed to his injuries before emergency services arrived approximately 18 minutes later. The attack shocked the community and rippled through South Africa's tourism industry. Dr. Nomvula Zaba, a shark researcher from a university in Cape Town who investigated the incident, explained that several factors likely contributed to the tragedy. The family had unknowingly entered the water during what local fishermen called the shark hour, the early morning period when great whites often hunt actively. Additionally, their location near a seal colony during pupping season placed them in a high-risk zone. Dr. Zaba's official report highlighted the unusual nature of the case, emphasizing the repeated targeting of multiple victims in shallow water. She noted that great white sharks typically bite once and retreat to assess their prey, but the shark displayed unusually persistent predatory behavior in this instance. In the aftermath, Cape Town municipal authorities implemented enhanced safety measures, including expanded shark spotting programs, additional warning buoys, and mandatory beach closures during high-risk periods. The Kogal Bay beach attack was recorded as one of South Africa's deadliest shark incidents in recent history. Vladimir Kolikov, the Russian consul in Cape Town, worked with local authorities to repatriate the family's remains. Later, a small memorial consisting of 4 stone markers was erected on the beach, becoming both a somber reminder of the tragedy and a warning about the ocean's unpredictable dangers. The great white responsible for the attack was never caught, though tracking data suggested it migrated to Australian waters the following season. Marine conservation groups emphasized that such incidents, while devastating, remained extraordinarily rare and should not result in culling programs that might damage the already vulnerable great white shark population. Van der Merwe, who gave up fishing after witnessing the tragedy, has since become an advocate for improved beach safety. He frequently speaks to tourist groups about respecting ocean predators and understanding the warning signs of dangerous conditions. He often tells visitors that the sea gives life, but they must never forget that it can also take life instantly. Naval Base Guam, Apra Harbor, 2015. The waters of Apra Harbor in Guam had long served as a strategic training ground for the United States Navy. Established during World War II, the natural deepwater port provided ideal conditions for various naval operations, including underwater maintenance exercises. The tropical waters surrounding the harbor boasted rich marine biodiversity, with coral reefs and abundant sea life. What many naval personnel didn't fully appreciate, however, was that these same warm, murky waters attracted numerous bull sharks, one of the ocean's most aggressive and territorial predator species. On July 17, 2015, Petty Officer 2nd Class Daryl Westmoreland, 28, participated in a routine underwater maintenance drill. The exercise involved a 6-person dive team practicing hull inspection procedures in the shallow waters near the harbor entrance. Westmoreland, a 7-year Navy veteran from Tulsa, Oklahoma, had completed similar training exercises dozens of times before. That day's weather conditions were optimal: clear skies, minimal wind, and moderate visibility underwater. According to Lieutenant Commander Jonas Fitzgerald, who supervised the operation from the support vessel, the team had been in the water for approximately 40 minutes when the incident occurred. Westmoreland had separated slightly from his dive partner, Petty Officer Alicia Richardson, as he moved along the starboard side of a moored supply vessel, checking for simulated damage to the hull. What happened next occurred with shocking swiftness. A 3.2-meter bull shark, likely attracted by the diver's movements and possibly disoriented by the harbor's shipping activity, emerged from the murky depths. According to Richardson, who witnessed the attack from less than 5 meters away, there was no warning behavior, no circling or investigatory approach. The shark struck Westmoreland with explosive force, clamping its jaws onto his right thigh with devastating pressure. Richardson later reported hearing Westmoreland's muffled scream through his regulator as clouds of blood quickly filled the surrounding water. The shark began to shake violently, a behavior bull sharks employ to tear flesh from bone. Acting with remarkable presence of mind, Richardson activated her emergency signal and moved toward her struggling teammate. The attack lasted approximately 20 seconds, though Richardson would later tell investigators it felt like hours. The bull shark maintained its grip as Westmoreland fought desperately, striking at the animal's sensitive gill slits and eyes with his dive knife. The other team members, alerted by Richardson's emergency signal, deployed the unit's acoustic shark deterrent, a device that emits specific sound frequencies designed to overwhelm a shark's sensitive electroreceptors. Petty Officer Marcus Dominguez, the team's most experienced diver, fired 2 underwater flares, creating bright, disorienting light that momentarily confused the shark. This brief distraction and Westmoreland's continued resistance caused the predator to release its grip and retreat into deeper water. The team executed an emergency ascent protocol, carefully bringing the severely injured Westmoreland to the surface while maintaining pressure on his wounds. Medical Officer Lieutenant Sophia Nguyen, who was stationed on the support vessel, immediately began treatment for hypovolemic shock as Westmoreland was pulled aboard. The sailor had sustained catastrophic damage to his quadriceps and hamstring muscles, with the shark's serrated teeth creating deep, jagged wounds that exposed bone in several places. A military helicopter transported Westmoreland to the Naval Hospital within 18 minutes of the attack. There, a surgical team led by Commander Wei Jiang worked 7 hours to repair the extensive damage. Jiang later told Navy officials that the bite force had been so severe it had fractured Westmoreland's femur and severed his femoral artery, which nearly resulted in a fatal blood loss. The incident sent shockwaves through the naval diving community. Admiral Raymond Connor, commander of naval forces in the Western Pacific, ordered an immediate review of diving protocols, particularly in waters with bull shark populations. Marine biologist Dr. Elena Vasquez, who consulted with the Navy following the attack, explained that bull sharks are among the few species that can tolerate saltwater and freshwater environments, making them common in harbors and estuaries where naval operations often occur. In her official report, Dr. Vasquez noted that bull sharks were particularly dangerous because of their aggressive temperament and ability to hunt effectively in low-visibility conditions. She explained that unlike many shark species that relied heavily on vision, bull sharks used electroreceptors to detect prey in murky waters, precisely the conditions in busy harbors. In the aftermath of the attack, the Navy implemented several new safety measures, including enhanced shark detection technology, additional safety divers during training exercises, and more comprehensive marine hazard awareness training. The attack also prompted research into developing more effective shark deterrent equipment for military divers. Westmoreland remarkably recovered after 16 months of intensive rehabilitation at the Military Medical Center. Though his diving career ended, he remained in the Navy, becoming an instructor in underwater emergency response procedures. The experience he gained through his recovery proved invaluable in training new generations of naval divers. Westmoreland rarely spoke publicly about the attack, but he briefly addressed the incident during a Navy Safety Conference 2018. According to attendees, he emphasized the importance of respecting the ocean's apex predators and acknowledging that humans are visitors in their domain. The equipment he had been wearing during the attack, his torn wetsuit and punctured air tank, was later placed on display at the Naval Undersea Museum in Keyport, Washington, as part of an exhibit on diving safety. Richardson received the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for her actions during the crisis, becoming one of the few women at that time to receive the honor for heroism during a non-combat situation. Eyre Peninsula, South Australia, 2009. The rugged coastline of South Australia's Eyre Peninsula had long been revered among marine researchers as one of the world's premier locations for studying great white sharks. The pristine waters, particularly around Neptune Islands, hosted a significant population of these apex predators year-round. The area's reputation for reliable shark sightings had drawn researchers and enthusiasts from across the globe since systematic studies began there in the 1970s. For 22-year-old Imogen Blackwood, the culmination of her 4-year marine biology degree at a university in Adelaide, South Australia, would occur in these waters. Her final research project, a groundbreaking study on great white hunting patterns around seal colonies, had already garnered attention from senior researchers. On April 23, 2009, Imogen prepared for her final data collection dive, accompanied by her father, Commander Everett Blackwood, a decorated Royal Australian Navy officer with over 2,000 logged dives. According to Everett, who later provided testimony during the coronial inquest, the morning had been perfect for their research. Calm seas, excellent visibility, and minimal wind created ideal conditions for their work approximately 3 kilometers off the coast near a small sea lion colony. The pair had conducted 14 previous dives in the area without incident, always following strict safety protocols. They used a shark cage when explicitly studying shark behavior. Still, this morning they conducted fish population surveys in an area where no sharks had been spotted during their previous visits. Professor Helena Nakamura, Imogen's academic advisor, monitored the dive from the research vessel and reported that the first 40 minutes proceeded smoothly. The father-daughter team had collected water samples and documented fish aggregations when the incident occurred. There was no warning, no sudden movement of nearby fish, no change in water temperature or visibility, nothing to suggest impending danger. From approximately 10 meters below the surface, Everett later recounted seeing a massive shadow materialize from the depths. A 5-meter female great white shark, later identified through photo identification as a specimen Imogen herself had nicknamed Athena during previous research outings, appeared from the blue. In a classic ambush predation technique, the shark bypassed Everett completely, instead targeting Imogen with a powerful upward breach. The great white struck with such force that Imogen was carried several meters toward the surface. The shark's jaws clamped securely around her midsection. Everett reported that his daughter's eyes had met his in a final moment of shocked recognition before the shark rapidly changed direction, heading toward deeper water. Everett pursued frantically, but the shark's speed and the growing cloud of blood in the water made it impossible to maintain visual contact. Despite his desperate attempts to follow, using his dive propulsion vehicle at maximum speed, Everett lost sight of his daughter within seconds. The emergency response was immediate and comprehensive. The Maritime Safety Authority coordinated 7 vessels and 3 aircraft in a search pattern, covering over 40 square kilometers. Professional divers and local fishermen joined the effort, combing the area for 3 days. Despite their exhaustive efforts, only Imogen's shredded buoyancy compensator and a single fin were recovered. Her body was never found. During the subsequent investigation, Dr. Julian Barrett, a shark behavior specialist who had worked with Imogen on previous research trips, suggested that the attack exhibited all the hallmarks of a predatory breach. In this hunting technique, great whites accelerate from depth with such explosive force that they sometimes become completely airborne when striking prey at the surface. Barrett noted that humans are not typical prey for great whites, making the tragedy particularly perplexing. Imogen had been diving well below the surface, not presenting the silhouette that typically triggers such attacks. According to Professor Nakamura, the most haunting aspect of the tragedy was that Athena had been a central subject of Imogen's research. The young student had spent countless hours observing this particular shark from the safety of diving cages over the previous 2 years. Her research notebooks, now preserved in the university's Marine Biology Department archives, contained detailed observations about the shark's behavior patterns, distinctive markings, and hunting preferences. Imogen had even theorized that this specific female exhibited more complex hunting strategies than other sharks in the region. The tragedy's aftermath profoundly affected the scientific community. The Department of Aquatic Life Sciences implemented enhanced safety protocols for shark researchers, including mandatory tracking beacons, improved communication systems, and stricter regulations regarding open-water diving in known shark territories. Everett Blackwood, devastated by the loss of his daughter, retired from active service but channeled his grief into establishing the Imogen Blackwood Foundation for Marine Safety, which funds research into shark deterrent technologies. What made Imogen's story resonate so deeply within both scientific and public consciousness was the cruel irony. She had dedicated her young life to understanding and ultimately protecting the very creatures that had taken it. Her extensive field notes and uncompleted thesis were posthumously compiled and published in the Journal of Marine Biology, providing valuable insights into great white behavior that continue to influence conservation efforts. Professor Nakamura, speaking at a memorial service held at the university 6 months after the incident, remarked that Imogen's research represented the dual nature of scientific pursuit. This passion drives researchers to understand dangerous natural phenomena, often places them in proximity to those very dangers. Perhaps most poignantly, among Imogen's personal effects recovered from her campus apartment was a handwritten note for her thesis acknowledgments, which read, "To the magnificent predators that have taught me more about respect than fear." The waters off the Eyre Peninsula continue to attract researchers studying great white sharks. Still, none enter those waters without knowing Imogen Blackwood's story, now a somber cornerstone of training for marine biology students specializing in apex predator research worldwide. Pailolo Channel, Hawaii, 2023. The Pailolo Channel, stretching between the Hawaiian islands of Maui and Molokai, has long been respected by local watermen as one of the most challenging ocean crossings in the archipelago. Known for its unpredictable currents, sudden squalls, and deep water upwellings, the 9-mile channel has claimed multiple vessels throughout Hawaiian maritime history. Despite these dangers, or perhaps because the channel has become a proving ground for elite endurance athletes seeking to test their limits in one of nature's most demanding marine environments, the channel has become a proving ground for elite endurance athletes seeking to test their limits in one of nature's most demanding marine environments. Makoa Kahanamoku, 37, a renowned Hawaiian distance paddler and direct descendant of the legendary Olympic swimmer Duke Kahanamoku, had crossed the Pailolo Channel 17 times before August 14, 2023. As the reigning champion of the Maui to Molokai Kayak Challenge for 3 consecutive years, Kahanamoku was intimately familiar with the channel's fickle conditions. On that fateful morning, he embarked on what was supposed to be a routine training session, preparing for the upcoming annual competition just 3 weeks away. According to weather data from the National Marine and Weather Bureau, conditions appeared favorable when Kahanamoku launched his sleek carbon fiber racing kayak from Kapalua Bay at 5:43 a.m. The ocean surface was calm, with light, variable winds and good visibility. Kahanamoku carried standard safety equipment, including a marine radio, emergency flares, and a personal locator beacon. He could not have anticipated the sudden weather system that would develop approximately 2 hours into his journey. Dr. Leilani Akina, a meteorologist at a university in Hawaii, later explained that an unusual micro-weather system had formed rapidly that morning, becoming more common as climate patterns shifted in the Pacific. Wind speeds increased from 5 knots to nearly 25 knots within a 20-minute window, creating choppy surface conditions with swells reaching up to 8 feet. Kahanamoku, caught in deteriorating conditions approximately 4 miles from the Maui shoreline, decided to continue rather than turn back. According to his subsequent statement to the Island Conservation and Resource Authority, he had successfully navigated through similar conditions in previous crossings. However, as he crested a particularly steep wave, his kayak became momentarily airborne before slamming down hard. The impact caused his carbon fiber rudder to partially shear off, with a sharp piece of the damaged equipment slicing deeply into his right calf as he braced his legs in the kayak's footwells. The laceration was severe, approximately 6 inches long and deep enough to expose muscle tissue. Blood immediately began pooling in the kayak's hull and seeping into the surrounding waters. Based on his extensive ocean safety training, Kahanamoku applied pressure to the wound using a compression bandage from his emergency kit while attempting to stabilize his now compromised vessel. According to Kahanamoku's account, precisely 40 minutes later, he first noticed the distinctive dorsal fin approaching his kayak. The tiger shark, later estimated to be approximately 12 feet long based on bite mark analysis, initially maintained a distance of about 30 yards, swimming in widening circles around the damaged kayak. Kahanamoku reported that the shark's behavior shifted rapidly from investigatory to aggressive when it detected his blood in the water. The first strike came without warning. The shark charged from behind, clamping its powerful jaws onto Kahanamoku's injured leg, which was partially submerged over the side of the destabilized kayak. The pain, as Kahanamoku later described to emergency physicians, was beyond anything imaginable, like being caught in machinery. Acting on pure survival instinct, Kahanamoku repeatedly struck the shark's sensitive snout using his carbon fiber paddle with such force that it cracked. The shark released its grip but remained nearby. What followed was a harrowing 90-minute ordeal that Kahanamoku would later describe as psychological torture. The tiger shark maintained a perimeter around the kayak, occasionally approaching to bump and nudge the craft, testing behaviors well documented in tiger shark predation patterns. Each time the shark approached, Kahanamoku used his damaged paddle to fend off the predator, all while fighting increasing blood loss and the onset of shock. Dr. Kekoa Mahialani, director of the Hawaiian Predator Research Center, later explained that tiger sharks are known for their persistence and methodical hunting strategy. Unlike some shark species that might strike once and retreat, tiger sharks often maintain contact with potential prey for extended periods, waiting for weakness or opportunity. Kahanamoku's struggle was a textbook example of this hunting behavior. After more than an hour of this terrifying standoff, salvation appeared in the form of the charter vessel Naapali Explorer, captained by Keone Akana, who had altered course after noticing unusual bird activity, often an indicator of marine predation. As the boat approached, the shark made one final aggressive charge toward the kayak. Nearly unconscious from blood loss and exertion, Kahanamoku had enough strength to fend off this final attack. The Naapali Explorer crew members executed a difficult retrieval in the still rough seas. They pulled Kahanamoku aboard moments before the tiger shark charged again, striking the abandoned kayak with such force that it partially capsized. Akana, a former combat medic with the U.S. Marines, immediately applied a proper tourniquet and administered emergency first aid while radioing for medical evacuation. A Coast Guard helicopter transported Kahanamoku to a medical center, where he underwent 7 hours of surgery to repair extensive damage to muscle tissues, tendons, and vascular structures in his leg. Lead surgeon Dr. Jennifer Hopkins reported that Kahanamoku had lost nearly 40% of his blood volume and required multiple transfusions during the procedure. The physical recovery was challenging, requiring 6 months of intensive rehabilitation, but the psychological impact proved equally difficult to overcome. Kahanamoku, previously known for his almost mystical connection to the ocean, developed severe thalassophobia, a persistent fear of deep water. Through extensive therapy with Dr. Marcus Kurosawa, a specialist in trauma-related phobias, Kahanamoku gradually began processing the experience. 10 months after the attack, Kahanamoku returned to the water for the first time, though only in shallow, protected areas. When interviewed by Pacific Islander magazine about his experience, he noted that the incident had fundamentally changed his relationship with the ocean. While he maintained deep respect for marine predators, the encounter stripped away illusions about humanity's place in the aquatic ecosystem. He said they were simply visitors, sometimes unwelcome ones in those waters. Monterey Bay, California, 2012. Monterey Bay, with its spectacular submarine canyon plunging to depths of over 10,000 feet just offshore, had long been recognized as one of the world's most biologically diverse marine ecosystems. The bay's unique oceanographic features created a perfect environment for an extraordinary range of marine life, from tiny krill to massive blue whales. The same conditions that made the area a haven for marine biologists also supported a healthy population of great white sharks, drawn to the abundant seal and sea lion colonies along the rocky coastline. For the commercial diving industry that serviced vessels in Monterey Harbor, the presence of these apex predators had always been an acknowledged occupational hazard. Standard safety protocols included shark spotters, emergency extraction procedures, and strict limitations on diving during dawn and dusk, the prime feeding times for most large shark species. Despite these precautions, the inherent risks of working in an environment shared with nature's most efficient predators could never be eliminated. Thaddeus Wellington, 42, a commercial diver with 15 years of experience working California's coastal waters, arrived at Monterey Harbor on the morning of October 17, 2012, for what should have been a routine assignment. The cargo vessel MV Australis had reported unusual vibrations during its recent Pacific crossing, potentially indicating damage to one of its massive propellers. Wellington, employed by Pacific Marine contractors, was tasked with conducting a thorough underwater inspection before the ship continued its journey to Seattle. According to Ramon Vasquez, Wellington's surface support technician, who later provided testimony for the official incident report, conditions that day seemed optimal for underwater work. The visibility extended to approximately 30 feet, considered excellent for harbor waters, and the sea state was calm with minimal current. Wellington, wearing a standard commercial diving hard hat system with surface-supplied air and communications, entered the water at 10:37 a.m. He carried a specialized underwater camera, inspection tools, and a powerful diving light to illuminate the darker recesses beneath the ship's hull. The inspection proceeded normally for the first 28 minutes. Wellington had completed his assessment of the port propeller and was transitioning to the starboard side when the incident occurred. The audio recording from his diving helmet, later analyzed by investigators, captured his final observations about minor barnacle fouling on the propeller shaft, before communications suddenly became chaotic. What happened next was reconstructed primarily from Wellington's survival account and analysis of his equipment. A female great white shark, later estimated to be approximately 14 feet long based on bite radius measurements, approached from open water beyond the harbor entrance. Marine biologists speculated that the shark may have been drawn to the electrical impulses from Wellington's equipment, particularly his high-powered underwater lights and camera system, which can mimic the bioelectrical signals produced by wounded prey. The shark struck without warning, clamping its powerful jaws around Wellington's right forearm. The force of the bite immediately crushed his radius and ulna bones and severed multiple arteries, despite the protection of his neoprene diving suit. The resulting damage left dramatic puncture patterns that shark researchers would later use to confirm the size and species of the attacker. In a testament to human survival instinct, Wellington reported that training overtook panic in those critical moments. He recalled jabbing forcefully at the shark's sensitive gill area and eyes using his metal inspection probe with his free hand. This aggressive countermeasure, combined with the unfamiliar taste of neoprene and equipment rather than prey, apparently caused the shark to release its grip after approximately 6 seconds. Vasquez, hearing Wellington's distress calls through the communication system, immediately initiated emergency extraction procedures. The support team rapidly hauled Wellington to the surface, using the diving umbilical's integrated strength member. This procedure risked decompression illness but was deemed necessary, given the life-threatening nature of the situation. Wellington was pulled from the water just 90 seconds after the initial attack, but in that brief period, he had lost an estimated 3 pints of blood. Dr. Eliana Reyes, the emergency physician who treated Wellington at a medical center, would later characterize his injuries as devastating but surprisingly precise. The shark's upper teeth had severed his radial artery cleanly, while the lower jaw had crushed bone and muscle tissue. Without immediate medical intervention, Wellington would have succumbed to blood loss within minutes. The emergency medical team applied advanced hemostatic agents developed for military battlefield use to stabilize him before surgery. Over the next 9 hours, a surgical team led by Dr. Maxwell Zhang performed delicate microvascular repairs, reattaching severed vessels and stabilizing shattered bone structures with titanium supports. The damage was so extensive that Wellington ultimately lost approximately 35% of his forearm's functional capacity, despite receiving state-of-the-art treatment. The incident prompted a comprehensive review of commercial diving protocols in areas with great white shark populations. Dr. Sylvia Montero, a marine biologist specializing in predator behavior, consulted on developing new safety guidelines. Her research suggested that the combination of Wellington's bright underwater lights, the metal hull of the ship, and his position near the surface created a perfect storm of sensory cues that may have triggered the shark's predatory response. During a subsequent safety conference for commercial diving operators, Dr. Montero explained that great whites didn't have hands to explore their environment and instead used their mouths. She said that what appeared to be an aggressive attack was often investigatory behavior. Still, she added that this was little comfort when dealing with an animal capable of exerting more than 4,000 pounds of pressure per square inch in its bite. Following the incident, Pacific Marine contractors implemented several innovative safety measures, including deploying electronic shark deterrent devices on all diver equipment and reconfiguring underwater lighting systems to reduce their similarity to distressed prey signals. Wellington himself became an advocate for improved safety standards, working with regulatory agencies to develop more effective protocols, despite no longer being able to dive professionally. 3 years after the attack, Wellington founded Predator Aware, a non-profit organization that reduces negative human-shark interactions through education and technology. When interviewed for a documentary about his experience, Wellington expressed no animosity toward the shark or its species, emphasizing that he had entered its territory and encountered natural behavior. He stated that the ocean did not belong to them, that they were guests there, sometimes unwelcome, and that his experience had simply been a visceral reminder of that fundamental truth. The great white responsible for the attack was never identified with certainty. However, genetic material recovered from Wellington's wetsuit was added to California's marine predator DNA database, contributing to ongoing research on white shark populations along the Pacific coast. San Juan Islands, Washington, 2021. The San Juan Archipelago, nestled in the Salish Sea between Washington State and Vancouver Island, had long been renowned for its resident orca population. These distinctive black and white marine mammals, scientifically known as Orcanus orca, have attracted researchers and tourists for decades. The region's complex network of islands, deep channels, and nutrient-rich waters provided an ideal habitat for the southern resident killer whales, a population designated as endangered since 2005, due to declining salmon stocks, vessel traffic, and environmental contamination. Regular patrols through these waters represented standard United States Coast Guard Station Bellingham operations. The unit was responsible for maritime law enforcement, search and rescue operations, and environmental protection across nearly 7,000 square miles of challenging waterways. On September 12, 2021, a routine patrol took an unprecedented turn that would reshape understanding of orca behavior and force a re-evaluation of maritime operations in cetacean habitats. Lieutenant Commander Zachariah Montgomery, 34, led the 4-person crew aboard CG 25771, a 25-foot response boat small. According to the official incident report, the patrol had completed routine vessel safety inspections near Orcas Island. It proceeded rapidly through Harrow Strait, a designated critical habitat for the southern resident population. Weather conditions were optimal with calm seas, light winds, and excellent visibility under partly cloudy skies. Marine biologist Dr. Valerie Nakamura of the Orca Conservancy, who later analyzed the incident, noted that unusual orca behavior had been observed in the region during the preceding weeks. A solitary male orca, identified as SL-117, nicknamed Seward by researchers, had separated from its pod approximately 3 months earlier, a behavior extremely rare among these highly social mammals. Underwater acoustic monitoring stations had detected SL-117's distinctive vocalizations, becoming increasingly erratic in the days before the incident. Petty Officer First Class Darnell Washington, operating the patrol boat's helm, first noticed the orca approximately 200 yards behind their vessel. According to the crew's statements, the animal initially appeared to be exhibiting normal behavior, swimming parallel to their course at a distance. Following standard wildlife encounter procedures, Lieutenant Commander Montgomery ordered a further speed reduction to minimize acoustic disturbance and wake impact. What happened next defied all previous understanding of orca interactions with vessels. Without warning, the 6-ton male orca accelerated rapidly to an estimated speed of 30 knots, executed a sharp turn, and rammed the patrol boat's stern with tremendous force. The impact was so violent that it shattered the vessel's reinforced transom and instantly disabled both outboard engines. The collision threw Petty Officer Eliza Thornton and Seaman Xavier Rodriguez from the rear deck into the water. In his sworn statement, Rodriguez recounted the terrifying moments following the initial strike, saying that the whale had circled back almost immediately. He stated there had been nothing playful about its movements. It had been deliberate, nearly mechanical. He added that it had rammed the boat again and then focused on the hull section where Petty Officer Thornton and he had been trying to reboard. The orca continued its aggressive behavior, repeatedly striking the disabled vessel and creating a dangerous situation for the crew members in the water. Lieutenant Commander Montgomery deployed the vessel's inflatable boarding ramp to assist his crew while issuing an urgent mayday call. Rodriguez successfully pulled himself aboard, but Thornton, struggling in the cold water, was struck by the orca's fluke during another close pass. The impact fractured 3 ribs in her right humerus, rendering her temporarily unable to swim. With remarkable courage, Rodriguez re-entered the water, secured to a safety line, and managed to reach Thornton, keeping her afloat until Montgomery could maneuver the damaged vessel closer for extraction. During this rescue operation, the orca circled aggressively, occasionally charging before veering away at the last moment. Coast Guard cutter Swordfish responded to the mayday call, arriving approximately 22 minutes after the initial attack. By this time, the orca had disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. The damaged patrol boat was taken under tow, and Thornton was evacuated by helicopter to a medical center in Bellingham. Rodriguez was treated for mild hypothermia and contusions aboard the cutter before being transferred to shore. The incident received immediate attention from marine mammal researchers worldwide. Dr. Heinrich Voorhees of the International Cetacean Research Consortium conducted a comprehensive investigation, including analysis of underwater acoustic data and the orca's known history. His findings, published in the Journal of Marine Mammal Science, suggested multiple contributing factors to the unprecedented aggressive behavior. SL-117 exhibited several physiological and behavioral abnormalities, Dr. Voorhees noted in his report. Post-incident acoustic analysis revealed patterns consistent with extreme stress response, potentially triggered by extended exposure to mid-frequency active sonar during naval exercises conducted approximately 72 hours before the attack. Additionally, tissue samples collected from the area after the incident showed elevated levels of domoic acid, a neurotoxin produced by certain algae blooms that can cause disorientation and aggressive behavior in marine mammals. The Coast Guard implemented sweeping policy changes following the incident. All vessels operating in known orca habitats had enhanced cetacean detection systems. Mandatory distance requirements were increased from 200 to 400 yards for all governmental vessels, with specialized training for crews operating in these sensitive areas. Additionally, the Coast Guard partnered with NOAA to develop an early warning system for potentially dangerous marine mammal encounters. Lieutenant Commander Montgomery, who received the Coast Guard Medal for his actions during the crisis, became a prominent advocate for stronger protective measures in marine mammal habitats. His experiences during the event profoundly altered his perspective on the human relationship with these intelligent creatures. In congressional testimony on marine protection legislation, he emphasized that the incident underscored how little is understood about marine animal behavior and the consequences of human presence in their environment. Thornton recovered from her physical injuries after 4 months of rehabilitation, but continues to address psychological trauma through specialized therapy. Rodriguez focused his Coast Guard career on environmental protection, eventually qualifying as a marine science technician specializing in wildlife interaction protocols. The orca, identified as SL-117, was monitored extensively following the incident. Researchers documented its eventual return to its natal pod 6 weeks later, with subsequent behavior appearing normal. Marine biologists continue to study the complex interplay between human activity, environmental factors, and cetacean behavior, with the 2021 incident serving as a sobering reminder of how much remains unknown about these powerful marine predators.